Hello world. This is this subject kind of touched me. I said before when I did a video on Luol Dang that every now and then I'll make videos like this. You'll hear this side of me and I'll get things off my chest that I need to get off my chest. And Aaliyah is a very, very touchy subject with me, especially as far as the Lifetime Network and Wendy Williams making an after school special, cheap, second rate piece of shit to exploit Aaliyah's legacy. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit, man. Are you fucking kidding me? Black people, we let that happen? We didn't fucking boycott that shit? Let's say, oh, I'm trying to think of someone great, but let's just say some great pioneer in some popular genre of another race died a tragic and sudden death in their youth. And 13, 14 years go by and no one makes a film about the person. And some black people wanted to make a movie about that person. And they tried to get people of the other race to portray that person. It wouldn't happen because they would the pride in that whatever that race would be would only with black people this stuff happens, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, they shouldn't have been able to find a black actor. But here's the thing. See, we've gotten into the Wizard of Oz syndrome, and Hollywood just has to be where we get our work. Like, we can't buy cameras and make our own films. We can't do that. We got to run to Hollywood. So based on the fact we got to run to the Wizard of Oz, um, since our standard is based on that, like, well, if I'm not acting in Hollywood, then I'm just not acting. Based on that dependence on a Hollywood or an external structure for and as an outlet for acting, based on that, uh they can always find black actors for everything because we're out of work. Because we don't want to buy a camera and film our own shit. So they can find black actors. Because you got so many of them out there and they're so talented and they're so desperate. Because they're waiting for Hollywood to give them a job. Oh yeah, this YouTube we have out here. Oh, forget about that. That's irrelevant. Let me talk about the movie. Let me let me just take my emotion out for a second to critique the actual film. Okay? And I'm taking my emotion completely out of this. But naturally, you look at the plot, you look at the script. Of course, it's the real story, so that's actually pretty good. I mean, the dialogue itself, some questions about that, but the story is the story. The story is a great story. They left a whole lot of stuff out though. They they left out Aaliyah's grandmother dying and what effect that had on her, because I think the ending, they wanted to send you off with that happy feeling so that you would have that shock and sadness with the end with the plane crash, which they actually didn't show or get into or even show the aftermath of, because that's how cheap this film was. They just, after she drives off in the limo from Damon Dash, then they just have the subtitles telling you about the plane crash. That's the cheapness of this film. That's why Lifetime is no place for this film. There's no place for this film. I'm not even saying that from an emotional standpoint. I'm saying that from an artistic standpoint. There's no place for this story to be told whatsoever. This story's way too grandiose for such a small, cheap piece of shit platform like the Lifetime Network. Thank you, Wendy Williams. So, as far as that goes, I've said that. Now, the casting, wow. The casting. If that casting is not the worst, that casting is just horrible. The R. Kelly casting, horrible. Elise Neal as Gladys Knight, that was okay. That was okay. It was a little small part. The Barry Hankerson casting, Now, I'm a student of the music industry. I know a lot about Barry Hankerson, and I know a lot of people saying there's no publications. See, I have family members in the music industry that go back, that they know Barry Hankerson. They've had meetings with Barry Hankerson. I'm not going to get all deep into that, but believe me, Barry Hankerson is someone that I've studied because he is an idol, someone that I want to be like. Barry Hankerson. So I know a lot about Barry Hankerson. So with that said, that casting of Barry Hankerson was beyond horrible. In fact, I think they miscast him purposely to insult him. And not to him because he doesn't care. I'm sure he doesn't care. He hasn't seen this film. He might not even know. Well, he knows by now that it exists. Cause I was reading an interview with his son Jomo. But yeah, they just casted everything wrong in this. The girl that they had to play Aaliyah, she was okay. She wasn't that bad. She's pretty talented. They could have done a much better casting, but the actress they used to cast her wasn't horrible. She was okay. She was singing all her own songs and all that stuff, so she was okay. The casting of Aaliyah's mom, that might have been the best casting in the movie. That's not saying a lot, but that was probably the best casting in the movie. And Aaliyah's dad, Aaliyah's brother, it was all mediocre. The Damon Dash guy, he was alright. Man, that R. Kelly casting was terrible. Man, whew. They just made him out to just be Chester Molester. I mean, come on. They could have given him like some type of I don't know. They just did R. Kelly wrong, man. And I'm not an R. Kelly sympathizer, but they could have given his character some redeeming qualities, is what I'm saying. They just made him into a 100% creep. And it's just, you just can't, nah, like, come on, great storytelling. No, you have to have him to be charming and endearing and all this stuff. So then when the creep part comes in, you're like, oh, no, you know what I mean? You gotta have some suspense, some drama. But they just made him just creepo just from day one, like through the whole portrayal of his character in that film. They just were completely wrong. Dude didn't look nothing like R. Kelly, mannerisms, nothing. You just nothing. I mean, he didn't even seem like a second rate Aaron Hall or nothing. This movie was just horrible. Just horrible on all kind of levels. But yeah, so script was horrible, casting was horrible, presentation. I'm not even I'm not even gonna go that deep into presentation because first of all, the family this was completely unauthorized. So the family, the owners of her estate, etc., were totally not on board with this. So none of her actual music was even in this film. So please don't watch this. And if you do watch it, please download it. Don't give lifetime ratings. Just don't do it. Do not reward them for making this piece of shit. Don't do it. Just don't. But there's something else I want to speak about since we're talking about Aaliyah. It's just something that I think about all the time. Something that just comes up all the time because most of my friends are in my age group. Some friends are older than I am. I've always tend to hang around people that are older than I am, and I've always wanted to get wisdom and stay close to wisdom and people that are much smarter and much more intelligent and more experienced than I am. But when I'm always in conversations with my buddies, because a lot of my friends that I still have are from grammar school and high school. And an example, day before yesterday, a friend of mine was over here, and she and I sat on the couch and we watched the Aaliyah movie, and we flipped the YouTube and watched some Aaliyah videos. And she was saying, man, and it's something that I felt, but I never said out loud. And maybe in the comments, you guys could tell me you feel the same way. People that are like in their 30s. Uh, but she was saying, man, because I met her in college. I met her when I was going to the Art Institute, and we're still friends today. And she comes over sometimes. We talk on the phone, hang out. But she was saying, man, that's why I don't even listen to Aaliyah's music like that. Because she was an Aaliyah fan when I met her. She was a huge Aaliyah fan. She's like, I don't even listen to her music like that anymore because it makes me sad. It makes me think about her, and it makes me think about that whole era. It makes me get nostalgic, and it just reminds me how much everything today sucks. I'm like, wow, I've thought that very same thing. That's why I don't listen to Aaliyah's music like that, like I used to. Cause same thing, it just puts me in that place that I don't want to be. It's just like, because to me, she just kind of represents that whole era. Because when you look at her style, like, you don't have anybody like that today. And I'm not a Beyonce disser. I'm not dissing Beyonce. Who else is in that category right now? Rihanna. I'm not dissing these chicks. They're doing their thing. They're doing whatever it is. So when I compliment Aaliyah, I am not dissing them because people want to take it like that. So that's my that's my precursor to what I'm about to say. But today you don't have an Aaliyah. And when I say you don't have an Aaliyah, Aaliyah had charisma. She had beauty, grace, style. She had a natural, charismatic quality. I don't want to use the word swagger because that word has been turned into something else. Because what swagger really is just you just have this effortless, non arrogant confidence. And it just exudes out of every mannerism, every vocal inflection when you just speak, just even just conversational speech, public oration, anything. And Aaliyah just had it. She just had it in spades. And you just don't have that today. You don't have a black woman, a black artist that just has that just natural star quality. And it just makes me sad that you don't. And it makes me sad that she's gone. But you so when you look back at that, she represents that era because you had MC Light, you had Missy Elliott, just the whole era. And not obviously not just for the females, but I'm just going to talk about the females for a second. Mary J. Blige, In Vogue, that entire era. And it makes me think to myself, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories. I don't want to be that guy. But I'm just going to speak facts. 1997 was the best year. It was the best year. And now I'll name some artists, some albums. They might not have come out in 97, but they came out a little bit before, a little bit after. But just 97, that year just represents the apex of this era. But you had Wu-Tang Forever. Wu-Tang Forever did come out in 97. But you had Wu-Tang Forever. You had Mobb Deep. You had, and I'm talking about R&B and everything. You had Craig Mack. You had Das Effect. You had Leaders of the New School, Buster, Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. That entire era, to me, like Aaliyah, Tupac, Biggie, really, and that's where I want to get to. The main representatives of that era are either deceased or have somehow been brought to ruin. Because let's look at black music, because that's what this really comes down to. Let's look at black music. Black music in that era, in the 90s, especially the mid and late 90s, was at an apex. Because I'm not dissing, because I know my history. I know what the 80s were. I know what the 70s were. I know what the 60s and the 50s were. If you go back to the Chuck Berry, James Brown, Jackie Wilson, Little Richard, huge, huge pioneers, huge fucking pioneers. Their influence reaches to today. But those of you who don't know the real history of black music can't see it. And Their reach reaches beyond black music. I mean, Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin, a lot of them cats, U2, they've stolen shit from Little Richard all day long, and James Brown and all these cats. The Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger produced that James Brown movie, if I'm not mistaken. But black music in that era had reached the apex, period. Because when you take the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, everything had come together in the 90s. When you had In Vogue, you had like the harmonies of the 50s, you had the hip hop beats and the bass, the boom, 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 boom. And they put all of that together. You had the James Brown funk samples in there. And I mean, dude, the 90s is when everything came together. The progression had reached the apex. You had DOS effects. You had all of the what's my man with the zoot suit, the hidey 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 ho, Cab Calloway. Cab Calloway meets Rapper's Delight. You know what I'm saying? Meets EPMD, and that turned into DOS effect. You get where I'm saying? And I know this video is gonna be long, but I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm getting this shit off my fucking chest, straight up. But dude, in the 90s, if you know the history, if you understand music, because I've been a musician since I was a very young child. I taught myself to play the piano at 7 years old. You know what I mean? My music teachers when I was in well, I'm not gonna get into. I'll get into that into another video, but my personal stuff. But black music had reached an apex in the 90s, and the product, Aaliyah was a huge product of that. When you look at the things that she brought together, and the movie talks about that, she was getting influences from Diane Carroll and all kind of people from way back in the day. But the point I'm making is, and I'm not getting into conspiracy theories. I'm not the crazy conspiracy theory guy, but you have to look at the facts. You have to look at the truth. Look at black music today. And look at the fact that by the beginning of this millennium, the super influential, super powerful black artists that had been created in the 90s were dead. Whether they were physically dead or something had happened to bring them to ruin. And I'm not gonna get deep into that. That would make this video way too long. But the obvious: Tupac, Biggie, Aaliyah, Left Eye. And I'm gonna before I end this video, I'm gonna break down this one thing. Now, Aaliyah passed away, and once again, this is no diss to the artists of today, no diss to Beyonce, none of that. But once again, just looking at facts, Aaliyah passed away 2001. 2001 was a bad year. It's a very bad year. So Aaliyah passed away, and Beyonce went solo, right? And they, industry promoted her, blew her out the water. I mean, blew her up, put her all over the place. Left Eye passes away under some very weird circumstances, unnatural deaths, by the way. And then they do a Destiny Child reunion tour because TLC is gone. There's no more TLC, the biggest female group of all time. And it was a black group, and it was created in the 90s. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is real. This is real shit. This isn't some crazy, dude that watches too much Alex Jones. No diss to Alex Jones, but you know what I mean. There's some nut jobs that take some Alex Jones stuff the wrong way and take it too far. But come on, y'all. This is real stuff. This is real. These are facts. This is right in your face. So, be it that this was total coincidence or this was design, these are the facts. And you'd have to imagine. I hate to get into the what if thing. People get into debates and people, my artist is better than your artist. I'm not that guy. And I in the comments, people are probably gonna do that, which is unfortunate. But you shouldn't do that. But the fact of the matter is, if Aaliyah was alive today, because if you look at history and as far as Aaliyah goes, when Aaliyah came into the game, she changed the game. When she was working with R. Kelly had ushered in a lot of new sounds and a lot of new styles that we hadn't really heard before. I mean, he took a lot from my man from the Gap Band. Um, gosh, his name won't come to me right now. Charlie Wilson. He taken a lot from Charlie Wilson, and Charlie Wilson had taken from Stevie Wonder, and Stevie Wonder had taken from Donny Hathaway. So, every era has their own version, but but and of course, well, people had accused R. Kelly of biting Aaron Hall, where Aaron Hall got his shit from my man for Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band. But R. Kelly had definitely put his own twist on it. And Aaliyah had developed her own style under R. Kelly and ran with that. But then she got with Missy and Timberland and flipped all of that around and took what she had and flipped it and reinvented herself. If you look at her press pictures and her first couple albums, you look at her press pictures of last albums, it was like it was the same style but evolved. So Aaliyah today, that's what I would imagine. And I would think that she would be a really big actress right now. Like she would be more of an act. She would be like one of those actresses, and she drops songs every now and then. But she would be a big deal right now. I truly believe that. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I really because she just had natural star quality. That transcends era. You know what I mean? She wasn't one of those stuck in the box. I mean, Bone Thugs and Harmony would not blow up now. Like Bone Thugs and Harmony, the way that Bone Thugs and Harmony was at their apex would not would not translate into 2014. But see, Aaliyah would translate. Like I heard that Drake song that she did. That's proof that she would translate. Like the music, which I wasn't that crazy about the production on that song. That's another story for another day. But the way Aaliyah rocked that cadence that she has, and the fluctuation, and she just had a perfect voice. Um, that tells you that she would translate to today perfectly. And in fact, I think a lot of artists today would sound different if she was around. Because when I listen to like Trey Songz and Chris Brown, all that, and I don't listen to them, but my nieces do, and I have to hear it when they play it. But there's a lot of her influence in today's stuff. There's a lot of influence in Beyonce and all of these people today. It's like when I listen to these the R&B of today or the black singers of today, because I don't even know if you can call this stuff R&B, but I hear a lot of Aaliyah, R. Kelly, um, a lot of influences from the '90s are still there. But man, R. Kelly changed the game when he came in. I can't stress that enough. There's a lot of R. Kelly wannabes out there that they don't even know they're influenced by R. Kelly. They don't have a clue. But I mean, R. Kelly, Teddy Riley, a lot of them cats from the mid late '90s. I hear a lot of them in today's stuff. I don't hear enough of the good parts of them though, unfortunately. But those are my thoughts. That's it. I'm not gonna get all into the Damon Dash, uh, Jay Z Illuminati conspiracy theory. I'm sure there's gonna be plenty other videos getting into all. I'm not into all of that, but I don't want to talk about how she died or who killed her, who's guilty, if there was a conspiracy or not. If I'm gonna be honest though, my gut feeling is that there was a conspiracy to kill her because once again, you just look at the facts. You look at the 90s and then you look at now. Why does everything now suck so bad? Why didn't it evolve the way that it did from the 70s and the 80s and then reach the apex in the 90s? The way that music is supposed to be today, it's supposed to be amazing. I mean, if man, if all the stuff would have been passed down the way that it was from the 70s to the 80s and the 80s to the 90s and the 90s would have passed everything down to the 2000s, the music today would be so incredible. It would just be unbelievable. I mean, and when I'm talking the music, I'm obviously the popular music, the major label stuff, because there's some amazing stuff out there, but you gotta really dig for it and look for it. But yeah, if you're looking at the major labels, all this Keef Chief and all of that kind of stuff, oh my goodness, it's terrible, 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 terrible. Anyway, man, those are my thoughts, man. Rest in peace, Aaliyah, baby girl. You are still missed. 13 years later, still talking about her. That tells you something right there. Anyway, I'm out, y'all. Peace.